Before I start my presentation, I would like to give you some brief about NetScout. People who have used NetScout as a tool before would know this as a packet analytical tool used within the data centers. And also, if you know about Arbor, again Arbor is a DDoS protection solution. And when the combination of these two comes, you have a very good technology which will help you secure not just the perimeter but also the data center within the data center, or even cloud, be it private cloud or public cloud, and we do it using packet data. And that's why the Humble packet has powerful content. The concept is very clear that whatever communication happens through packet, and packet has all the evidence that is required for you to analyze and do forensics for any security events happening or attacks that are happening. So a little background. So security, when it comes to network security specifically, it started off quite early. The first wave of security was more of perimeter firewall and IPS to protect a data center from outside world. But as things progressed and attacks and security threats become clear, a next wave of security solutions came into picture, which would look into multiple events into a single visibility through a SIEM. Then you have a lot of technologies which will help you identify threat using network technologies like say Flow. Flow was very popular some time back when people used to look at traffic, where it is coming from and where it is going to, with the source destination IP address, port numbers and those things. It was still a good technology to start off with and identify threats within the network. This was still good, but you still needed advanced functionality, looking into the packet itself and seeing what exactly is going on when communication happens. So there are a lot of technologies that people are using to secure their infrastructure, and there is a lot of investment going on to secure most of the networks. At the same time, risk is also increasing. How can this big issue of investment versus risk can be normalized is something that NetScout would try to analyze and help you identify that. So this third wave that we are going to talk now is more of the advanced NDR functionality, network detection and response, wherein we have the enhanced business and security policies that we want to look into. At the same time, we also want to do granularity, and not just on the physical data center part of it, but also on private cloud, public cloud infrastructure, where the traffic is within the network also, but at the same time it has vulnerabilities, it has attacks happening within the network itself. So risk-based approach is what we are looking at, and what we bring to the table is advanced early warning system. So we look into the packet data, not just in north-south traffic but east-west traffic, and provide a early warning system so that in case if there is any kind of activity that is going on which can identify vulnerabilities being exploited by attackers, that can be identified. We can do continuous attack surface monitoring because we have all the data that is required to see these attacks happening on the network. We can also do contact tracing, which also means that whatever has happened in terms of an attack, a breach, now you want evidence. And most of the tools, when they use Flow as an evidence method or they use logs for evidence, that is one part of it. But you need to also have a proof of actual communication happening between the devices. And contact tracing will also help you in identifying lateral movement. That means if a compromised system is there, if that system is further communicating within the infrastructure and trying to infect other devices or servers or systems, there should be a mechanism to help you identify that communication. And that's where what happens is evidence is what is required. This can provide the evidence itself. The last part of it is also very important, where you have a vulnerability. Today you don't have a idea about that vulnerability that has been announced today. And this vulnerability is there since long time, and you don't have the data till today. Then when people have announced that there is a vulnerability, this is the vulnerability that you have. Can I go back in time and see if somebody has tried exploiting this vulnerability in your systems? And that's where this becomes very effective, that today a vulnerability has been identified and you want to see, based on this vulnerability, is somebody tried exploiting that vulnerability past traffic. So this can provide you that back in time investigation as well. So how do we do that? Is we collect packets, we convert these packets into rich metadata or meaningful information. And how do we do this is very important, because NetScout, being packet data analytical company for so many years, close to 35 years, we have been doing packet data analytics, and deep packet inspection is the key to most of the analytics that we do. And with Arbor coming into picture, we instead of looking at packet data for performance issues, we can also look packet data for security issues. So a few challenges or myths that we will talk about, and people say that how do you acquire packet data? Are there any issues when it comes to, say, a public cloud, private cloud infrastructure? Can I even acquire packet data? People think it's not possible. But NetScout being in this industry, and we have been developing acquisition, packet acquisition. Most of the physical networks, you will probably get packet data by as simple things as sniffing or tapping a physical network. What about virtual network? Can we do the same thing in virtual network? Yes, of course you should be able to do that. But the technique has been mastered by NetScout. That's why acquisition of packets on virtual or physical networks or cloud networks is possible. And once you have the packet data, you can do much more about it. Then encrypted and encapsulated data. Say a SD-WAN or SDN network has an encapsulation. What happens if you acquire that data? Can you actually read that data is another big challenge. Can you decrypt that data, unencapsulate that data, and analyze that data? That's where we come into really the picture where we can do that. The third one is, I have a very large network. I have traffic which is 40 gig, 80 gig, 100 gigs of data. Can I still go and analyze that high speed data? Is a big challenge, and this is where NetScout can bring in their experts, and where we are providing this solution for service providers. They have multiple thousands of gigabits of data that needs to be analyzed, and we can do that. And for an enterprise, it becomes even more easier for us to also give that solution. Then there are deep packet solutions that are required, and what we have is a ASI based adaptive services intelligence is a patented technology from NetScout, which looks into data and converts this data into meaningful information. What is the advantage here is, most of the organizations, they think that they want the complete data, packet data that is collected for analysis. No, you need to extract meaningful information to do analysis, and that's where we come into picture. And that's why deep packet solutions are too costly for a technology which is, they are saying it can do deep packet inspection. But when it comes to NetScout, we have been doing this for past 30 to 35 years, and we do a very good job of doing deep packet inspection. And that's why it's much cheaper than a lot of technologies that are available to do deep packet inspection, making it possible that you can do multi-gigabit traffic and still be at a cheaper price. So When we talk about virtualization, what happens is, how do you capture this data? Can I capture it on a VMware infrastructure? Can we do it on Hyper-V? Can we do it on AWS? Can we do it in containers, Dockers? Now these are microservices, and collecting packet data becomes very difficult. And that's where we come into picture, and we can do a small agent on the hypervisor and collect data from wherever you want from that particular hypervisor. Or if you are using VMware, I can instrument a simple virtual appliance and collect the data from any VM across VMware infrastructure. Same goes with NSX, where you have a VMware NSX server, you can do that as well. You have containers and Dockers, you can collect packet data from those places as well. So making it unique that if your cloud is private or public, you will be able to acquire packets without any issue. That's the advantage of NetScout. What about if I have multiple clouds? I have AWS, Azure, I have few other clouds, and I want to have a single pane of glass when I am looking at security. Instead of a separate dashboard for AWS, separate dashboard for Azure, separate dashboard for my data center, can I have a single dashboard, single pane of glass when it comes to packet data? And security using NDR on a single console. That's where we do a wonderful job in acquiring packets, converting it into meaningful information, whether it is for performance or security requirements. So how do we do that? One is acquiring the packet. Once the packet is acquired, we convert the information into session information. So each and every packet is converted into meaningful information. Then context, whether it is key, KXIs, that means key performance, key threat indicators are extracted out of these packets. For any teams, whether it is security team or network team or both NetOps and SecOps, they can use the same tool, same infrastructure to collect the packet data and analyze it for two different reasons. One is security and one is for performance. And we can look into not just that, but application response times. We can look into application success failures, whether application is working or not. Then we have network response times. We can go into, say, application code information from the packet itself. I don't have to then put any agent on any system to get this data. Security metrics includes weak security. That means if I am using, say, a weak cipher for a particular application, can I identify that and suggest those application teams to increase the encryption level? Threat analytics and behavioral analytics, because behavior is something that we are already doing before we started doing security. Because of our performance visibility, we could easily see behavioral patterns on application layer, and that's where this entire thing comes into picture. How will it help you? Is because if you are using this tool, the total cost of ownership of the tool itself reduces the cost of overall solution and also reduces the risk, overall risk in that enterprise. So that's the important message that we have. Now, where does this tool sit within an organization? And does it communicate with all the other network components that are within the organization? Say you have packet data coming into the network, and that packet data is converted into meaningful information. What we also have is a Arbor feed, which is the IOCs part of the solution. We can see if the traffic has any malicious attacks happening, or if it is doing command and control communication with outside, those communications are there. Now, because we are using packets and we are offline, that means we are not in between devices, we are collecting traffic from the network device. How can I stop this thing from going out or an attack coming in is also very important aspect. So we can connect to any security device like a next generation firewall or a threat intelligence platform and send this information to those devices to block that traffic. Either it is a EDR, XDR, we can also send this information to those devices and stop it. If you have a SOAR, we can integrate with SOAR and SIEM to send all that event information back into the system. We can do this not just on physical, we can do this in cloud as well. So that's a major advantage that we have. So this is completely network based. That means we are only using traffic to analyze this entire thing. Contextual investigation is something that we can do when the traffic is flowing between physical and virtual environments, as well as with physical and cloud environments, hybrid environments. So we have a terminology called scalable DPI. So scalability is the unique functionality where we can scale from not just thousands of Mbps, but gigabits and multiple gigabits of traffic on a single solution. So deep packet inspection. So within the platform, we have the performance side of it, which is called nGenius One, and we have InfiniStreams, which are the probes that are collecting this packet data. On the security side, we have the same probes, but we are looking into cyber security visibility. We can do additional things, that once we have the data, can we share this data with other tools, other analytical tools is also possible through Kafka feed. So we can provide this data to Kafka, and we can either do further performance visibility as well as security analytics from third-party tools also. We have contextual drill. That means if I have sent a particular event to a SIEM, now SIEM has that incident, and now somebody wants to investigate. How do we do that? Is there is a contextual link provided within the event itself, so that if I click on that event, I'll go back into the investigation. I can go into the details in terms of these are the packets where the evidence is available, and extract that evidence as and when required. So overall, there are very high level network instrumentation that we can do. So packet collection from any network, whether it is physical, virtual or cloud networks, is possible. We can do network based threat detection. We have our own IOC feeds, as well as we can take third party IOC feeds into the network. We can do contextual investigation. That means I have identified something, I have shared with SIEM, or SIEM has found something and I want to investigate in the network. So I can do both sides of contextual investigation that way. Remediation. So in case if I have already found something, can I ask a security device to block it? That is also important, because we are not in line, I can't block anything in between, but can I ask a security firewall or a intrusion prevention system or any other third party system which can block traffic to block that traffic itself? That is possible. So this tool can also be used by both security teams as well as network performance monitoring or NOC teams. So that's on a very high level an introduction to NetScout Omnis Cyber Intelligence platform for you. Thank you.